Hi, welcome to Fast Intelligent Care. In our episode today, we are going to introduce you to our new clinical educator and OT, Callyn Jones. And we're going to go through a 4-part series where we'll have a bit of a deep dive into her journey as an OT and the AT space. Look at how she had to be creative under budget constraints, working in a low-resourced context, and then comparing different roles that she worked in. So looking at community setting versus hospital practice. And then at the very end, we'll do a bit of a reflection and looking at lessons that she's learned and some impact stories. Hi, Callyn. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for the lovely introduction.
And I want to start first with asking you to give us a brief rundown of what your journey into OT looks like.
Sure. So I started OT in a little bit of an unconventional way. Coming out of school, I started off with doing a BSc and then realized that I was just really missing that element of human connection. I'd always wanted to be in a profession that was helping people and realized that spending my life in a lab wasn't maybe where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. So I got into OT and I've never looked back. So after graduating, I started my grad year working in a hospital where our AT focus was on running a seating clinic for wheelchair seating. Then I went into a community setting where the AT focus was around prescribing wheelchairs, standing frames, and a whole bunch of equipment for 24-hour posture management, but in low socioeconomic settings and low resource settings where people had really high physical support needs. Then I moved to Australia and started my work in the NDIS and started to get an idea of what the AT landscape looks like here. And then moved into a hospital setting where I focused on NDIS, but also helping participants or future NDIS participants with getting access once they were discharged from hospital and making sure that they were getting the appropriate equipment they needed to be discharged safely home.
Great. And then you got into the role at Enable. So what drew you to the clinical educator role?
Sure. I think Enable just felt like that sweet spot of I love AT and I was missing doing as much of it in the NDIS space. But Enable just really resonated with me because it was clinician led. It had a really big focus on R&D and focused on making sure that products were really modular, could be adapted to a variety of situations instead of having to have many solutions for clinicians to have to choose through. And I think it really just made me excited to get back into AT, and also the education role I think was a big thing. I really missed being able to do peer learning, getting into education, and so the idea of being able to do webinars, CPDs, those kind of things was really exciting.
Yeah, it's great to have that interaction, that networking with OTs on a regular basis.
Yeah.
What is something that you are excited about with regards to assistive technology?
I think the thing I'm the most excited about is just the innovation. From my background in South Africa, there's just a lot less available, and you make the most out of what you can. But I remember coming to my first ATSA when I was in Australia, and it just felt like AT heaven, walking in and just seeing people that had come up with innovative solutions for anything and everything. So every question you feel like or every kind of solution that you feel like you hadn't been able to get solved, there was always someone who was willing to listen and try innovate. So it's just really exciting to be in a space that is just moving and changing and growing to meet people's needs as a sector gets bigger.
So what role do you feel like had the most impact in shaping you as a clinician?
I think my second role, where I was working in that social enterprise, so it's a bit of a mix of a non-profit model and a business model, but it was really focused on disability inclusion and empowering people through the use of AT to be able to get back into engaging in those meaningful occupations. It really resonated with me because I think I was able to understand that AT had more of a purpose than just, physically supporting someone, that it could really make some meaningful changes in someone's life when it was implemented correctly. And it just made people with disabilities so much more visible. They suddenly just got so much more respect. They were so much more visible in their communities, and that really resonated with me. I think that just ignited that passion for AT.
Yeah, IT is a very empowering tool for people, so that's really great. I also want to ask if you have any advice for OTs that are thinking of stepping into the AT space.
I think the biggest advice that I probably have for new OTs trying to get into the AT space is to just not be scared about trying to get hands-on with the equipment. I think AT can be this thing where you look at it and they can have so many complexities. There's different versions of similar equipment and everything has its nuance. And it can be really intimidating sometimes trying to get into the AT space and feel like you can't get a handle on the equipment. So I just encourage OTs to, get in there, give it a try, open up covers, look at cushions, look at mattresses, try understand the mechanics of what you are working with, because then it makes you understand what you can do in terms of adapting that equipment. It makes you understand that you can push it or adapt it or customize it or see what it can do to support your client, and then let you understand where you might need to look at other solutions or where you might need to implement other strategies to make sure that your client can do what they want to do.
That's great. And I think a superpower that we as OTs have is thinking outside of the box and making a plan and adapting. So that's really great. Thank you so much for your time. We'll wrap up this episode and we'll go on to our next episode where we will look at a little bit more of a deep dive into Callyn's experience working in a low resourced context, so looking at low cost solutions. And then we will go into comparing those different settings that she worked in and doing a bit of reflection. We'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have any experiences that you'd like to share. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for your time.